Story 1.
My family live in North London, in the Irish part of town, although part of my family is from Ireland. Most of it, half of it, is originally from Lithuania and Belarusia on my father's side, and on my mother's side, they're from Scotland and Ireland, but I'm not quite sure how we ended up living in Kilburn. I went to school nearby in a place called Willesden, which is a nice middle-class suburb. I used to walk to school every day. My mother used to come and get me and walk me home with my little brother. He's called Jason. He's 31 now. He still lives at home with my parents. I went to a Jewish school, because my family's Jewish, so I had quite a Jewish upbringing. At school we would keep the festivals and the Sabbath and all the main events of the year. When I was 11, I left that school. It was called the North West London Jewish Day School, and went to another school in a part of town called Camden, which is in North West London. And that was also another Jewish school. I stayed there till I was 18, and after that I took 1 year off before I went to university when I was 19. In that year I worked for 6 months, and then I went on a kibbutz to Israel for 6 months. That was very interesting. The kibbutzes were set up about 60, 70 years ago as little islands of socialism. In the real hardcore ones, they used to have pictures of Lenin and Stalin on the walls. And I used to spend my time working there and learning Hebrew. My family, my parents are sort of semi-retired now. My mother used to be a model, and she worked as a secretary in a hospital for about 10 years or so, and her family's very artistic. Her father was a craftsman, a French polisher, who used to polish cabinets and repair wooden antiques and things. She's painted for quite a while, and then she took up sculpture, which she was really good at. I've got lots of her sculptures in my flat. My father works, and he works part-time as a salesman for a company that makes linings for clothes and curtains and things in the East End of London. He goes there 2 or 3 times a week. He's supposed to go there 4 or 5, but he doesn't. Half the time he stays at home with my mum and pretends he's at work. I don't have any grandparents, unfortunately. They've all died. The last one to die was my grandmother, my father's mother. She was 92. I was quite close to her, so I quite miss her sometimes. At university I studied Arabic and history. After I left university I got a job as a press officer with a UN organisation, which is, they have these years every year, like Year of the Child and Year of the Tree and Year of the Goat or whatever. It's like the Chinese New Year. Every year there's a new thing, so this was Year of the Youth. So I was the press officer for United Nations International Youth Year, which was quite fun. After that I helped set up a youth magazine called Fairly Serious Monthly, which was an interesting magazine because it was written by its readers. It was me and some friends set it up. It wasn't a bad magazine. It was the first couple of issues were a bit ropey, but it got better as time went on. And we sold it. It was a proper magazine on sale every month. Then I got a job with the Daily Telegraph magazine, which was interesting because it's a very right-wing magazine, and I'm not very right-wing. And I managed to get some good articles in there about racism and quite serious issues, but eventually I was on a 6-month contract. They didn't renew it because they said my approach wasn't right for them, which is good really, because I would be a bit worried if it was right for the Daily Telegraph, because it was a very right-wing newspaper, still is. Then I worked for the Daily Mail on their lifestyle magazine. Then I worked on a tabloid newspaper, which was a very good experience because you have to do things extremely quickly. Sometimes you have to do things so quickly that there isn't actually any chance to find out what people actually think or what's really going on, and you're basically expected to, not exactly to make it up, but to, let's say, stretch your material as far as you can. Basically make it up half the time. Then I got a bit bored with that after a year, because it's not really why I became a journalist, to make things up. And then I went to work for a serious newspaper called The Independent, and I stayed there for about a year or so, and then I came to Hungary. as a foreign correspondent. What you call a stringer, which means you have a contract with a newspaper and they pay you per article and your expenses as well, and sometimes a retainer also. But it's not actually the same as being on staff, so you don't get a car and a house and a secretary and all the things that staff reporters get. But then again, you get a lot more freedom, so you can do what you want. And I've been in Hungary ever since. That was in June 1991, so 5 years, almost exactly 5 years to the day. And in between I went to live in Berlin for a year, which was good. It was less exciting than when the wall was there. The wall had come down in 89 and I was there 92, 93. But it was still a very interesting experience because the city was still divided into two quite severely in the people's mentalities. They used to say the wall on the ground has gone, but the wall in the head remains. But still, Budapest called me, so I came back to Budapest after a year. And now I'm working as a journalist, working much more for newspapers, for magazines than newspapers. And in the last couple of years, I've written a book about Muslims in Europe, which I got the basic idea from when I was in Bosnia. I got very interested in this whole question of Islam in Europe, and that's going to come out probably this winter or early next spring. That was very interesting because I went to 10 countries, to France and Britain and Bosnia and Germany and America and Turkey and Albania and Bulgaria to talk to Muslims. There's been lots of books about Islam, sort of very theoretical things, but this is a book about people, about Muslims themselves, how they live and what they want, and I find it very interesting and I hope it's going to do well.